Hello there, my name is Alexo, and today we're going to be talking about Harry Houdini. It's pretty much a magic cliche to talk about Harry Houdini as an influence, as even almost 100 years after his death, he is still one of the most widely recognized names in magic. Much of this was attributed to Houdini's own myth-making, as he was obsessed with making sure that his name would never be forgotten. There are many stories and legends attributed to Houdini, many of them true, many of them false, and a lot of them somewhere in between. One we're going to talk about today is an incident that happened on June 14th, 1900, when Harry Houdini went head-to-head with Scotland Yard. The legend goes that on this day, Harry Houdini met with the superintendent of Scotland Yard, Sir William Melville, stating that he could get out of any pair of handcuffs that they could restrain him in. Bemused by this, Melville proceeded to handcuff Houdini to a pillar, like you do, stating, "This is how we treat Yanks who come here and get themselves into trouble." He then turned around stating that he and his men were about to go to lunch. They were surprised when Houdini then stated, "Wait, I'll go with you." They turned around to see that Houdini was now free of the cuffs. He threw them down on the floor and stated, "This is how Americans get out of trouble." The incident secured Harry Houdini with a contract for the Alhambra Theatre in London, and the rest is entertainment history. The cuffs most likely used were a pair of these. Hyatt Company Darby-style handcuffs. These were very popular with European law enforcement at the time. Houdini was photographed several times in them, and in fact, in the poster behind me, he's actually wearing them in the top left corner. As to whether or not this legend is true, I'm going to chalk this up in the category of plausible, but probably very heavily embellished. The snappy dialogue between him and Sir William Melville probably didn't take place the way it was written, but Houdini was not one to let the details get in the way of a good story. While the easiest way Houdini could have gotten out of the cuffs was to have a duplicate key on him, it is very possible to get out of a pair of cuffs like these without the key, and today I'm going to show you how to do it. Before we begin, I want to talk about a proposed method of how to get out of these cuffs that's written in both Houdini on Magic and The Secrets of Houdini. Both these books talk about a method of getting out of these cuffs that by striking them on a hard surface, that would cause the cuff to spring open. I'm going to tell you right now, don't do that, because you are way more likely to break your wrist before you break the cuff open. I took these and whacked them on a concrete slab right outside my door, and I couldn't get these open to save my life, so I'm going to chalk this method up as totally false. Do not do it. I don't want you all to go to the hospital. Okay, now for the real work. A good key to escape artistry is reverse engineering. Basically understanding how your lock works from the inside so that you can bypass the locking mechanism without the key. When you can visualize what you're doing, it comes in handy when you can't see what you're doing. Now to understand how a pair of Darbys work. Very different from the traditional Smith & Wesson design that we're used to. How these cuffs work is that there are two corresponding sets of teeth, one on the bar and one inside the locking mechanism, held in place of a very strong spring. The key goes into this hole, pulls back the spring, and releasing the inner set of teeth, allowing the handcuff to swing open. How the Darbys work is a very different mechanism. How it works is that there is a pin on the inside of this chamber that is held in place of a very strong spring. The key screws into the piston, pulling the spring back, allowing the cuff to open. So, in theory, if we could pull the pin back, that will allow us to open the cuff without the key. Again, the easiest way that Houdini could have gotten out of these cuffs would just have been to have an extra key on his person, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he didn't use that method. Here again is the book Secrets of Houdini, and yeah, there's that simple method right there. Yes, simple if you want a broken wrist, about striking the cuff on a stone or a piece of lead. I'm gonna guess that Houdini probably perpetuated that one himself because it made him sound cool, but that is not the way to get out of these cuffs. The book, however, has two other methods that could have been used. Again, we'll never know exactly what Houdini did, but this gives us an interesting idea of what he could have done. This one involves sort of a pseudo key that would screw onto the pin and be pulled back with a lever. And this one over here is basically a corkscrew design that would screw into the pin and be able to pulled up that way. What I'm going to show you is sort of a modern tool that is used to open cuffs like these where in countries that they are still in use. It's just a little bit of plastic with a cord on there. What happens is we are going to screw this end onto the pin and see if we can open the cups that way. This would not have been used by Houdini, as plastic technology was kind of in its infancy, but technology has been good to us, and if Houdini had access to something like this, I'm willing to bet that he would have used it. So, goes into the locking mechanism, just screws in. There are no threads, you're just sort of just motioning it up the piston like that way. Take the cord, pull it open, and we're able to get the cuff open that way. Once again, take your plastic tube, screw it onto the pin until you're about halfway down. Grab the cord, and you're free. Now, I know what you're thinking, well, it's easy to do this when they're not on your wrist. Well, let's slap these on my wrist and see if I'm still able to get out. Okay, let's try these on my wrist. Got my cuffs, got my tool. Let's see if I can still get out. See, screw that in there. Twist. That's one. Get that in there. Screw it in. There we go. That is how Americans get out of trouble. Well, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you found it interesting, and if you excuse me, I have a little bit of a situation that I need to get out of myself. My name is Alexo, and I hope you enjoyed my show.